The pressure continues to build on Ange Postecoglou after another loss at the weekend to Newcastle. Lots of criticism has followed his interview with talkSPORT's Sam Matterface, where the Spurs boss refused to answer questions regarding his issues with the officiating. Football writer and co-host of the Sunday edition, Henry Winter, found Ange's attitude in the interview bizarre.
It's Sam's job to ask the question. Sam, I'm sure, has got, we know sort of Sam Matterface, a very good commentator. When you talk to Sam, he's absolutely got opinions on the game flowing through him. But it's in that period, whatever the sort of 2-3 minutes that he gets to quiz the Spurs manager, he wants to know his opinion. I like Postecoglou. I like the way that his team plays and the way they attack. There's a naivety to them. There's a stubbornness in his inability to sort of vary his tactics. But I think overall, that there's a positivity to Postecoglou, which doesn't come over in interviews like that. And he just sounds a little bit churlish, and I actually thought disrespectful to an interviewer in Sam, who was being very measured, who was there. So, Sam wasn't being provocative. He wasn't stirring him up.
He did it to a few of the interviewers yesterday, to be honest. They were all trying to get to the point. What is it you're annoyed about? And he wouldn't say. He makes a rod for his own back.
And I think that text from Jeff Shreves hit the nail on the head, didn't it, McCoist? Do you know that he has never been one to criticise officials, and he was trying to avoid doing that?
Yes.
But in a rather clumsy way.
Yeah. I don't think it was his best interview, to be honest. I'm my cards on the table. I really like Big Ange. I've said on numerous occasions I enjoy watching his team. I think they're a good watch. I think they're really handicapped at this moment in time with injuries, suspensions, whatever you want to call it, and obviously that bug that went about. But I think there's a couple of things that you and I have been in football long enough to know, Jeff. If you're a football manager, a football coach, there's two certain groups you never take on. You never take on the press, and you never take on the fans. Mm-hmm. That's who you don't take on. You can take on most other people, but once you start fighting with press and fighting with your own fans, then you're up against it. I just think in his defence to try and not answer the question, because we know Jeff's right that he doesn't criticise and complain about referees, but that's the only thing that I can think about. He looking at it in the way he conducted himself. Sam's right, but with great respect, when Sam's doing that interview with Big Ange, he's asking the questions, and Big Ange is throwing it back to him. With great respect, we don't want to hear Sam's opinions at that particular time. We hear Sam's opinion in talkSPORT, and that's great. It's Big Ange's opinions that we want to hear, and he never gave Sam the answer. And as I say, I don't think it was his finest moment, but I'm still a fan. I genuinely, I love his attitude to play. Yes, it must be frustrating defensively all over the place, and you look at he ended up with two centre backs playing there at the weekend that are not centre backs, for example. I take your point. No Maddison, no Son, Bissouma. I get all that. But I just think it was a poor interview. Again, if I'm going to stick up for him, I'd say, how many times have we seen it? It's very, very difficult for managers to control their emotions every time with every interview after the game, but they've got to do it.
By the way, just a positive about Spurs. Pedro Porro's crossing.
Oh my God.
My goodness. What a display of crossing of football that was.
But I'm so pleased you brought that up, Jeff, because I'd written it down and I forgot to mention it. His delivery on Saturday was magnificent. The one for the first goal, and then he whipped a couple across. I thought, and he's not one that has escaped total criticism from the Tottenham fans, but I thought some of his cross balls at the weekend were, from a centre forward's point of view, they were different level.
He was brilliant. Halfway through the Premier League season, relegation battle heating up. One side's definitely worried about the prospect of going down, despite their improvement of Wolves. Big game tonight, of course. They host Nottingham Forest, live and exclusive on talkSPORT. That kicks off at 8 o'clock. Look, Vitor Pereira started absolutely brilliantly, but they will find, and no team is a one-man team, but they will find it hard to cope without Mateus Cunha, who, of course, will be suspended.
100%. It's a funny one, and I stand by it. I think Forest have been excellent, and I actually think they're one of these teams. I know it sounds crazy going to Forest, and it's a great atmosphere there, but away from home, I think they're equally, if not more dangerous. Forest away from home, I do. We mentioned the balance they've got on their side, and they've got the real pace, and they've got a big centre forward that's just having one of those seasons. But from Wolves' point of view, they couldn't have hoped for a bit. Well, Pereira's point of view, he could not have hoped for a better start to his management career at Wolves. Couldn't have hoped for a better start.
Look, Crystal Palace will be hoping they're not involved in the relegation battle this season. Just want to get one more mention in, and it's for Palace, who've not touched on it all. And they got a great draw against Chelsea at the weekend. I want to mention one player in particular, Daniel Munoz. Cost less than £7 million. Involved in everything, not for the first time this season, everything that was good for Palace, he was involved in.
You know something? Palace are going to be one of these teams, Jeff, that they'll be absolutely fine. They'll go through a wee period in the league where everybody, you and myself included, will say, well, they just need to keep looking over their shoulder because this, that and the next thing. They'll finish mid-table, round about mid-table. But you're absolutely right. He has been terrific. I just think they've got a better squad of players than teams that are going to get relegated. It's as simple as that. And I know they've lost one or two as well. But you mentioned boys like Eze and things like that, Tyrone Mitchell, and I think they're solid enough defensively. So I take your point, but you're right, on the right-hand side, Daniel Munoz has been fantastic for them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Chelsea do in the transfer window, if anything. I mean,
they missed some chances again, Jeff.
Well, I was going to say, Nicholas Jackson's been exceptional, but he's not clinical enough in front of goal, that is for sure. Yeah. But hey, 1-1 draw at the weekend. Coming up, it is Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown. Thanks, Coisty, enjoyed it.
Great stuff. I look forward to seeing you later on.
Excellent stuff. I'll be in the usual place on a Monday evening to watch the Premier League football. Of course, we won't be drinking. It'll be totally non-alcoholic stuff. So we'll be back from 6 tomorrow morning. We'll react to the Wolves against Forest game. It's live on talkSPORT, of course. And we'll begin to build up to the Carabao Cup semi-final first legs. Huge games, those, for Arsenal, Newcastle, Spurs and Liverpool. We'll preview those tomorrow. Thanks for listening.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.